Main card, John Hathaway against Diego Sanchez. Diego Sanchez going back up to 170. Hathaway is an interesting prospect, former rugby player, going mostly, a guy from England, not really so much of a brawler. He likes to wrestle, use a little Greco-Roman and some ground and pound, and with decent top game. Diego Sanchez, not the guy really, I think, to try that out against. This is a huge step up for Hathaway. Interesting to see, how Diego trained. He looked a little soft at the weigh-ins at 170, so we'll see what happens. But Diego, overall, the vastly superior grappler, I think. Way better in scrambles, and he probably has a striking advantage as well. Hathaway is a pretty big 170, so we'll see, how Diego can deal with that. But, I mean, he's fought Koscheck before, who is a vastly superior wrestler to Hathaway. So I'm going to go with Diego Sanchez. I think he might be able to finish it. Hathaway's a tough guy, so I don't know. He's going to have to finish it with sub. I don't think he's going to be able to TKO him. So the safe pick would be Diego Sanchez again, unanimous decision. He could sub him, although he would have to sub him from a top position, somewhere around there. So that's definitely a distinct possibility. Jason Brills against Little Nog, Antonio Rogerio Nogueira. Intriguing match, I guess you could say, but I'm being kind of too generous about that. It's basically Rogerio is going to win the fight. It's just, is he going to win by decision? Is he going to sub him, or is he going to TKO him? Decision is probably my biggest, because Brills is a tough guy to finish. He's got decent grappling ability. He could possibly get TKO'd. That's probably the second best option. That's what I'm going to go with. Brills, he doesn't control distance well. He doesn't throw leg kicks. He just wings overhand rights. And I think Nog's going to time him. Brills could get a takedown or two in this one and make it seem like it's competitive, but it's really not going to be in the long run. So I think it'll take, the second round, Rogerio is going to time him, hit him with some big shots, maybe an uppercut. I know Eric Schaefer landed a couple uppercuts that rocked Brills. Rogerio's got a good uppercut. Drops him, finishes him with a TKO, or possibly drops him and finishes with a sub that way. But Antonio Rogerio Nogueira, we'll go TKO second round. Todd Duffy against Mike Russo. This is a good test for Duffy. He's very aware of people hyping him, and that's just a product of just how he looks physically, and the fact that it's the heavyweight division and people always have an affinity towards the heavyweight division. It's just a weight class that gets a lot more attention, especially now. I mean, you don't have a lot of guys that are huge in the heavyweight division prospects, and any prospect in the heavyweight division is going to get that kind of treatment, I think, or at least a guy that's destroying people left and right. The heavyweight division is better than it has been in years past, obviously. I think it's pretty good right now. But that is why he's getting that kind of attention. Russo is a guy that they both weigh the same, although completely different physiques, obviously. Russo, well-rounded grappler, good wrestler. He's going to want to put... I mean, he could answer all the questions that anybody has about Duffy. It's like, does he have the cardio? Does he have the wrestling? How good is he off his back? Because Russo could definitely be the guy that tests that. And I'd like to see that happen. I'm going to pick Todd Duffy by first round TKO because the dude hits like crazy hard. It's ridiculous. And so I think he'll be able to tag Russo. But it'd be interesting to see. I would not count Russo out at all. I could definitely see him subbing Duffy or possibly grinding him out to a unanimous decision. So don't be surprised if that happens. And it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world for Duffy because, he would get the ring time, which is pretty helpful in bringing up prospects. I mean, that's what you need is ring time or cage time. But Duffy, TKO, first round, tentative pick. Michael Bisping against Dan Miller. I tried to rack my brain to come up with ways that Dan Miller could win this fight. So I do not like Michael Bisping. I do not like the guy at all. I don't like his fighting style. I think his fighting style is crap. And even though he's a pretty decent fighter, and I just don't like his personality. It just doesn't jive with me. I just don't like the guy. But Miller really does not have... I mean, he got outstruck by Damian Maia, and you can say, well... Okay, well, Damian Maia, he got outstruck by Damian Maia because he was worried about going to the ground with him all the time. But that's, you know, I mean, still, you shouldn't get outstruck by Damian Maia. So, you know, Dan Miller's chance is, I mean, exploiting Michael Bisping and taking him down and trying to work top game and trying to sub him from the top, because I don't think Dan Miller has the skills to sub Bisping off his back. And Bisping, he's got a pretty good defensive guard, better than it has been in the past. He did a good job against Kang, even though he was rocked, regaining guard multiple times, and it was pretty impressive. And, you know, I like Dan Miller, I like Jim Miller. They're both good guys. I like their, you know, their fighting mentality, and it's just Miller just seems like he's kind of already beaten, and so even though he's going to be tough to finish, I'm going to go Michael Bisping, unanimous decision, outstriking him, stuffing takedown, sprawl and brawl type of thing. So there you go. Michael Bisping. Don't like the guy, but I'm picking him. It's going to happen. Rashad Evans against Quinton Rampage Jackson. Main event. Here we go. It's been a long time. So, yeah, that was a stupid song that I just came up with. So let's get into the pick, which won't be stupid. And my pick is going to be Rampage Jackson by KO at the end of the first, early second round. Here's why. Rampage, amazing chin, very solid boxing counter. Both guys, it's funny how fighters can be so similar in styles, yet so different. They're so similar in the way they fight, but they're so much. It's completely different fighters. It's unexplainable how that is possible. Both guys, wrestlers, mostly is their background, and they have learned to become counter, strikers. Neither guy is gonna omoplata you or get anything. They don't even go for guillotines, arm bars. You're not gonna see that in this. It's all wrestling position. They use jiu-jitsu to do ground game position for ground and pound, or get out of bad ground and pound position, and looking to stand up. I think Rampage is the better overall striker by far. He hits harder. I think he's got the straighter punches, which I think is going to come into that. Rashad loops a lot of his punches. He's undersized for 205, and I think Rashad's game plan is going to be to come in and try to out-wrestle. I think it's going to be a GSP game plan. You're going to try to out-wrestle him, and by doing that, you tire him out, and then maybe try to win on the feet later in the second and the third. A lot was played up to the fact that, Rampage is pissed, so now Rashad's in his head, and that's an advantage. Normally, probably would agree with that. I mean, you don't want to fight with emotion at all. But Rampage seems to be the exception rather than the rule to that. It's like he gets pissed and he's inhuman for some reason. He just has inhuman strength, and it's like, I look at the Vanderlei fight. He was knocked out twice against Vanderlei, and he came back and trained harder than pretty much he's ever trained, and he KO'd Vanderlei in the first round. It's just something that he needs motivation to train. He's just that kind of guy. One thing I don't like that I would favor Evans in, and the one thing that I would favor Evans in, is training camps. I have never understood and will never understand why Jackson trains at the Wolf Slayer. He should be... why you wouldn't want to train with, American Top Team or AKA or something like that, where you can get quality, very quality training partners. He was on MMA Live, and the one line that I didn't like was asked him, Pat Milich asked him, like, why would you go to England to, learn wrestling, when you got a guy in Rashad that's going to try to out wrestle you, most likely. And his response was, I'm a wrestler. I don't need to train with wrestlers because that's already my background. And then some nonsense about we can't get quality wrestlers in the United States. So the Wolf Slayer brought him in from Iran wrestlers, like you can't get quality wrestlers in the United States. That's probably the stupidest thing I've ever heard Rampage say. And there's a lot on the line here in terms of, ego mostly, and secondary, probably a title shot. So there you go. There's my picks. UFC 114, Rampage versus Evans. Yep, you guys stay metal. Later.